In this video, we will show you how to build a user flow in Triggre. As we have seen in previous videos, we can start using the wizard or an empty user flow. In both cases, you can completely customize the user flow to your wishes. For this video, we will use the project management user flow that we made earlier and we'll extend it. To add steps, we first go into Add mode by clicking the Add button in the lower right corner. We select an item in the user flow we want to place something behind of, for example, the overview page. We now see where we can add something. When we click the green plus, Triggre shows that we'll be adding a button to the page. We call the button Report. Now we have to choose whether we always want to see the button or only when an item is selected in the overview. In this case, we choose always. We can add a business rule to determine when the button is visible. Business rules are discussed in a different video though. Because there are already buttons on the page, we can determine the order of the buttons. Now Triggre asks what we want to happen after the user clicks the button. We choose to add a new step. We get to choose from adding a decision, a flow part, or a page. We choose flow part because we first want to execute a process which processes some data to show on our page. We select the flow part All Open Tasks. We now see that there is a button from the overview page to this flow part. After the flow part, we want the page to show the report. We click the green plus again and choose to add a new step again. We choose a page and give it a name. Now a page is added to the user flow. To edit the page, we first have to exit Add mode. The page is now red. This is how Triggre shows you something is not quite right about your design. In this case, that is because there's nothing on the page yet. Open the page editor by clicking the page. We see that there's nothing on the page yet and Triggre shows a red plus to indicate this. To solve it, we can click the red plus directly, or go into Add mode and click the green plus. We can now choose which type of content we want to show on the page, either a single block or stacked content. For now we choose a whole block and then a table. In a table, we can show data directly from the warehouse, or we can show data that first has been processed by the factory. In this case, we choose the latter, or data from the user flow, as it's called in Triggre. We now see a list with all available data we can show in the table. We choose for data that our flow part has given as output. Then we choose which properties of this data we want to show in our table. If you like, you can change the column headings. Because we have chosen to show the table as a single block on the page, we can let Triggre create advanced search functionality automatically. We also choose a default sorting. In the final step, we can indicate whether we want the user to be able to export the data in the table to an Excel spreadsheet. We have now added a table to our page. We exit Add Mode and close the page editor with the arrow in the top left corner. Our page is now done. We can very easily create very complex user flows this way, using many pages, flow parts, and even decisions.